I drew them like that.
I know. But this is how they're supposed to be.
No, the other way. That way is very funny.
Your way is not neat.
But yours is not good at all. I mean, it looks like those bed sheets in a bed sitter, separating the bed from the rest of the room.
Oh no, you did not.
Did not what?
Call my curtains bed sitter sheets.
Come on, I did not. That's how they look when they're drawn like that.
Oh. Also because I told you my dad raised the four of us in a bed sitter. Kila tunafanya sana bed sitter, sindio?
No, I did not.
Yes, you did.
Come on. Okay. You know what? You can just have it your way. Just have it your way. Happy?
What? Can't believe you.
Is this really about the curtains? Or something?
It's not a big deal. Forget it.
Come on, please. Talk to me.
You've had your way.
What?
So Lexie wants the curtains drawn one way, but William is adamant that those curtains have to be a specific way. So who's right and who's wrong? Has it got anything to do with the curtains anyway? That is the focus of our discussion on this episode of Hashtag For Better, For Worse. How much is our background affecting our marriage? To help us discuss this, we are joined with an amazing couple who do not require any introduction, but I will allow them to introduce themselves because I don't want to do any disservice to their introduction. So you will introduce your spouse, and then you will tell us something that at the beginning of the marriage your spouse liked, but right now they feel nothing about it. Briefly.
So my wife is Rose Ewagata. Okay, I don't know if it was because of the children or what, but she loved these hot dogs from a particular petrol station on Ngong Road. So, especially when we were expecting the kids. Yes. And we would drive across whatever time of day or night that it was required. Fortunately, there was no curfew those days. Yes. So just cross over and get the hot dogs. Mm-hmm. Right now, I mean, I don't think we've gone back there since.
Where were you staying at that point?
We're staying in Kariako.
Oh, and then, okay, so.
Yes.
Hi, next.
This is my well-known husband, Pastor David Ewagata. He's a passionate youth minister. Okay. Served in the youth ministry for
some time.
Quite some time, over 20
just a few
years.
days.
Okay. Over 20 years.
Okay.
He's a wonderful husband and father of 3.
Yes.
One of the things that I think I admired a lot about him, us being very different in personality, that spontaneity, that just let's go with the flow. I think it's something that drew me to him the first earlier days. It was like, there are people who are living like that. Throw caution to the wind.
Let's go with it.
Let's do this.
Yeah. You still haven't told us that one thing that he used to like a lot, but now feels nothing about.
He wowed me with the cooking. Yeah, so now I have to really, the best I can get is a barbecue.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And that's very occasional.
So let's get into it. Our background, based on how we were brought up, our experiences, how we were socialized. How much has that, or in your formative year, how much did it affect you as a couple?
I think background brings in. I mean, we rarely think we are marrying a whole human experience.
Yeah.
We assume we are marrying a beautiful or handsome, educated, focused guy. You don't realize there's a whole village behind that. And so background really, we call it background and baggage. And if you're doing premarital counseling, it's called background and baggage because it's part of what you come in with. And it affects a lot of things. The expectations, it affects the demands that you place on each other. It affects the way you do things, the routines. I mean, looking at these guys arguing about curtains, and we were saying, you know what, the curtains you need to worry about. Come on, curtains you gari. Then those are your responsibility as a man. These things over the curtains in the house, you know what you are going to eat, which school the kids are going to go to. Those ones you can leave to her. You handle things like, is money on top of the table?
Also, because of that background, it affects like this couple, for instance, where if he grew up or in a space where men were involved in everything, it wasn't just this is for women, leave curtains to women, you deal with the most important things of life. If the men around him were involved, or if he has maybe an artistic flair to him, personality, he would be concerned about how the curtains hang. So, you know, and typically, stereotypically, African men were not involved in how the house looks. Yeah, the decor, which side the curtain. You know, those were things that were left to women. Yeah. But with time, I think we've changed. We've evolved. And men
we think
are now
we've evolved. Okay. I think we think we've evolved, but you give it a try and get this guy to do the kitchen work for a while. It begins to get to a place where it's like, and especially if they grew up in a background where the parent or the dad was very withdrawn. They may have been involved when they were dating. They may have been involved when they were living alone. But there's something that just clicks when you get married. It's like, okay, Sasa, I am that guy. My dad, I am the dad. Father. And so you begin to say, I can't go to the kitchen. I can't iron my own clothes. You know, when I get into the house, I remember one of our famed wealthy men in this country and philanthropic, Manu Chandaria, was interviewed at one time, and he was sharing his story of his honeymoon. And when he got married, he woke up the next day, went to the kitchen, made breakfast, brought it to the wife. I don't know whether it's true or if it was just pulling our leg, and brought it to her in bed
with roses.
With roses. And then the wife is like, oh, this is so lovely. And then he told her, that's how I want my breakfast every day. And I wouldn't be surprised if he picked the exact recipe that his mom made for his dad. Because those things come up, and it's unfortunate that we never realize just how much of our family we carry with us. Good, bad, and ugly. That's why it's background and baggage. Because you think, oh, my dad was, you know, a hard talker, he was violent, or he was, you know, he would just boss everyone around, until you sit in your house and suddenly you're like, Izo viatu, tokeni nje. And then you're like, I know that guy. I know that guy. You know? Or people are in the living room with you, and you begin to feel, why are people in the living room? They should scatter when I come in. Because there's something about what you saw that so strongly models to you that you never step out of that space. And so some of the things that she picked from her place, she came with how she handles conflict. She's an only child, and so I mean, if you're a child, you never win any battle. So even when we got into conflict, the way we handled conflict for her is, I've already lost. It's just a matter of me sorting it out. Even if it's my fault, she will not take the blame. And we had to go through that and say, you know what? We have to get to a place where we discuss things.
But is there any other thing that now affected how you dealt with your relationship as you got married?
I think one, the top of my mind, one would be decision making. Yes. There's one who likes to brood and think about things and process, and the other who wants decision made. Let's discuss this. Let's do this. Let's make a decision. And so with time, I think one day when having a conversation with a friend, she's pointed out, she's like, you know, I admire the way you guys you understand your husband, that he's not a person to rush into making decisions, that you bring it up and then leave it. Give it time, because when you push, then you get blocked. You get blocked.
At what point did you get to pick that this is probably could be an effect of my background?
I think the first years of our marriage, because that's the time when you're really experiencing the other person, not the person you thought you married, but the person now you are with.
Yes.
We had intense conversations. We had what do you call
We
it?
had a tough marriage. How you handle conflict, how you process decisions, how you deal with friendships, how you relate with the people who come in, visit, hang out, and all that. How I handle ministry versus how she handles ministry. We're both in ministry. And so trying to find the place that she's not feeling insecure because of how I'm handling myself, especially with the ladies. I mean, I'm not feeling pulled back because she's always like, oh, we need to go, we need to. And so finding the balance where, because she's more of an introvert, I'm super extrovert. And so finding those balances, it's like the jigsaw puzzle. You begin to realize some points you have to chip away this for this to fit. Otherwise,
that was the first years of our marriage, I think, and thank God it was the first years of our marriage, because after that we were able to move forward, and we had points of let's really talk about what is the real issue. The real issue is not what we are arguing or we are quiet about.
Because sometimes I just come and she's angry.
deeper.
She's
So really, there's nothing you can point to and say,
somebody.
I left the cup in the sink. Nothing. So you're just like, it's that conversion of we need to talk, but it's not being said. It's just silently communicated. And that is probably one of the hardest things for men.
Yeah, because for me, I think my take was I couldn't understand why a guy who has many words and who is so easy to have conversations with people is having a hard time having conversation with me, the person he loves the most. Because it's like, I see him out there, he talks so easily with people, he gets people to talk about their feelings, he gets people to talk about, he's ministering to people and they open up to him so easily and he's listening and so it's not that he doesn't have the skill, it's just that he's not applying it in this space. So that was the most frustrating.
Jealous of the masses.
So, in the case where somebody really doesn't have the skill, you say, okay, let me be patient, let's learn. And I think for most people who have, very successful, or people who seem to be doing well out there in the workplace, in the neighborhood, in the community, they seem to be thriving. They seem to be doing very well relationally. But at home, there's tension, there's silence, there's issues that are not being dealt with. That's frustrating.
Even when a doctor is sick, they don't do their own.
They're not the best
patients. And they're the worst patients.
True.
And so it's very easy to assume that because I do this, it comes naturally. It's a totally, and that is when we were dating. My friend, I could throw vibe. I could, I knew what to say at one point. You just press here. But when you get married, it's like the settings change. So we have to come back and say, now we are not trying to make impressions. I'm trying to be me as much as possible because this is for a lifetime. She's trying to be her. And so the things that I saw in my home begin to pop up. The background, the baggage,
default setting.
Default settings begin to come in.
You go back to your default setting.
And that is where now they begin to say, he's changing, or she has changed. So you feel like now I'm entitled to be me when you get married. And so me means my background, means my way of life, means the way my food was cooked, this means the way my bed was made, or the way I made my bed.
Or didn't make my bed.
And people argue about, people have argued to the point of this half is your responsibility. And this other half is my responsibility. And some things are not even within our control. Like the way you sleep. You never discover that until the day you are married. And the pastor said that the two shall become one. And then you could have the guy sleeps like he's on a sumo wrestling match. he's doing some other actions inside there. And they're like, wow. I think for us, when these background things come, we need to ask ourselves, what is it that can change? What is it that can't change? What is it that I'll have to learn to live with? And what is it that, I will have to walk slowly with this person to change? My decision making has taken years, and I still fear making decisions. I still tread cautiously. So she'll take a step before, she'll know we are moving before I know, which is why Paul says, husbands learn to live in wisdom with your wife. That wisdom to know when to speak, when not to speak, which sometimes we don't have.
Yes.
You know something, and you know it is right to say it, but because you don't take the step to ask yourself, when is it right to say it?
Yes.
Then you mess it up.
I think taking the first years of marriage as, especially for those who are newly married, as a learning curve, afresh. Because I think most of us assume that we already know the person by the time you're walking down the aisle. Then they go into the default system. We all go to the default system. And then you begin to realize that, feel sort of disillusioned, sort of like, this is not what I bargained for, this is not what I had in mind. Giving yourself time to relearn really helps, and learn this other person really helps. So extending a lot of grace to yourself and to the other person is very critical in those first years. That then after that, then you get into a rhythm. You'll get into a system that works for both of you, because you have to figure out, you have to develop a new culture, a subculture outside of the culture that both of you have grown into. So you need to give yourself time to realize this new culture and decide, make decisions about. I think one of the things that we said is like, we are not going to live either or the other culture. We're going to form a new culture, our own culture. We're going to set new traditions. We're going to set new ways of dealing with issues, new ways of resolving our conflict, new ways of raising our children, new ways of making decisions that work for both of us. They might not work for our parents, but they work for us. Yes.
I think we should take our first years of marriage as like you're going to boarding school. Yeah, you're just going to boarding school with your best friend, but it's a whole different world, learning different things. And I'll just reiterate what Rose has said. Build your microculture. There is what your parents showed you, which they didn't show her. There is what her parents showed her, which they didn't show me. There is where she grew up, where I was not present, and even if I was present, her experiences as a girl are different from my experiences as a boy. And so understand that and begin to build either call it your subculture or your microculture. An interesting thing is her mom would come to visit us and she would expect that she makes the tea. And because I was the chef those days, I would walk into the kitchen and make the tea, and she would be so upset. And literally call her out and tell me, oh, it's okay, you stay in the house, and goes to escort her and give her a lashing. So we learned, because this is our subculture. But when mom comes, I sit down, I place my demands, she makes the tea. When the mom walks out and goes happy,
this is a good wife.
We come back and I go straight to the kitchen and make the meal. And so some of the things might upset other people. But they are not your marriage. You're trying to make your marriage. Your mother can come and say things, your friends can come and say things, your experiences can come and bring things that you want in your marriage. But take the best, go with them all in, and then come out with what
decide what
works and what is better for you and for your children.
All right. So unfortunately, that's all the time we had for this episode of Hashtag For Better For Worse. But you can keep this discussion going. Use Hashtag For Better For Worse on all our social media platforms. That is at Picha Safi Productions KE. That at Picha Safi Productions KE on Twitter, on Facebook and Instagram. And in case you're out there and you are going through a conflict of sort, trying to figure out where you are, what is going on in your marriage, there is help. Reach out to us, drop us your contacts on our inbox on our social media platforms, and somebody would get in touch with you. There's a team of people that are ready and willing to pray with you, to counsel with you, and to walk with you, because God intended that your marriage thrives and that happens to His glory. I have been Fred Makori, and I've been having a discussion with David and Rose Ewagata. We shall be having the same discussion, continuing, but on a different topic, that is family tradition. Next week, same time. Thank you very much, and God bless you.